Malaysia-Uzbekistan to activate Intergovernmental Joint Committee. 13 Western countries reiterate calls to stop assault on Rafah. Good afternoon, welcome to World Today. I'm Jessica Lee. Malaysia and Uzbekistan have agreed to activate the work of the Intergovernmental Joint Committee on Trade and transform the committee into the Intergovernmental Joint Commission. Now, in a joint statement, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim and Uzbek President Shavkat Mirziyoyev said it will be continuing mutual visits of representatives of business circles, as well as participating in exhibitions and fairs held in the two countries. Both countries also agreed on organising regular and effective bilateral business engagements, not only in the mainstream goods and services sector, but also in tourism, healthcare opportunities and other areas of mutual benefit. The leaders also acknowledged a notable uplift in the volume of mutual trade in goods and services between the two countries over the past 7 years, as well as the need to identify untapped opportunities and express their readiness to further expand it in the years ahead. In order to stimulate mutual trade, both leaders also emphasized the necessity to systematically continue the work on further development of air transport connections and the establishment of new convenient logistic routes to ensure ease of doing business in both countries. Both leaders also agreed to facilitate the investment procedures for both incoming and outgoing investors, thereby creating a conducive environment for the healthy exchange of investment-related activities between Malaysia and Uzbekistan. In a related development, Datuk Seri Anwar and Mirziyoyev revealed that Malaysia and Uzbekistan have agreed to explore opportunities for cooperation in the petrochemical sector and clean green energy solutions. They said in a joint statement that the Uzbek side has expressed a keen interest in collaborating with Petronas, particularly through the methanol to olefins and derivatives project, as well as in a green hydrogen and associated derivatives production. Now, both sides welcome Petronas' potential contribution to the training of Uzbekistan personnel in the oil and gas sector. The Uzbek side also noted that Malaysia is one of the largest centres of Islamic finance in the world and expressed its readiness to provide necessary assistance to Malaysian commercial banks in active participation in the financial market of Uzbekistan to establish mutual cooperation in the field of Islamic finance. The leaders confirmed their determination to enhance and strengthen framework of bilateral treaty-based cooperation through signing of new long-term documents in investment, law enforcement, education, innovation, customs and other areas of mutual interest. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said he will, on Wednesday, announce the date on which Madrid will recognize a Palestinian state along with several EU partners. Sanchez said Spain is in the process of coordinating with other countries so that they can make a joint declaration. He said Madrid's policy was appreciated by the international community. Sanchez said in March that Spain and Ireland, along with Slovenia and Malta, had agreed to take their first steps towards recognition of a Palestinian state alongside Israel, seeing a two-state solution as essential for lasting peace. Now, for decades, the formal recognition of a Palestinian state has been seen as the endgame of a peace process between Palestine and Israel. The United States and most Western European nations have said that they are willing to one day recognize Palestinian statehood, but not before agreement on thorny issues such as the final borders are agreed. In 2014, Sweden, which has a large Palestinian community, became the first EU member in Western Europe to recognize a Palestinian state. The state of Palestine had earlier been recognized by 6 other European countries, namely Bulgaria, Cyprus, the Czech Republic, Hungary, Poland, and Romania. 13 Western countries, including many traditionally supportive of Israel, appealed to it not to launch a large-scale offensive on Rafah. They reiterated their opposition to a full-scale military operation in Rafah that would have catastrophic consequences on the civilian population. The appeal was sent by the country's foreign ministers to their Israeli counterpart, Israel Katz, and was made public. The signatories were Australia, Britain, Canada, Japan, New Zealand, South Korea, and EU member states, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, and Sweden. The ministers urged Israel to let the humanitarian aid enter the Gaza Strip through all relevant crossing points, including the one in Rafah. They said Israel should resume electricity, water, and telecommunication services in Gaza and boost significantly the supply of critically needed goods, particularly medical supplies. They also called on Israel to take concrete action for the protection of civilians, international and local humanitarian aid workers, and journalists. They called on Israel to facilitate further evacuations by issuing exit permits for all of their citizens, eligible persons, and Palestinians admitted to relocate for humanitarian or medical reasons abroad. The first trucks began supplying aid to war-ravaged Gaza from a temporary pier as fighting raged in the Palestinian territory. According to the U.S. Central Command, the trucks carrying humanitarian assistance began moving ashore via the long-awaited pier, a day after it was anchored to a Gaza beach. In the coming days, around 500 tons of aid is expected to be brought in via the pier to Gaza. The shipment includes EU supplies, including 88,000 cans of food from Romania. Now, this is an ongoing multinational effort to deliver additional aid to Palestinian civilians in Gaza via a maritime corridor. The plan to construct the pier was announced by the U.S. President Joe Biden in March as Israel held up deliveries of aid on the ground, worsening Gaza's dire humanitarian situation. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warned that Russia's offensive in the Kharkiv region this month may only be a first wave, and Russian troops could aim for the city of Kharkiv. Zelensky said the situation in the region where Russia has seized several border villages was controlled but not stabilized after Ukraine sent reinforcements. Now, he said Russia's offensive could consist of several waves, with the first one being conducted in the Kharkiv region. Russia began its offensive on the 10th of May, forcing thousands of people to flee their homes as Russian troops pounded villages along the border.
Але що ми розуміємо, що вони розраховують десь на 10-15 травня, може початок червня. Ось така була інформація. Приблизно, в принципі, так і сталося. Вони розпочали цю свою операцію. Вона може складатись просто з кількох хвилей. Тобто перша хвиля вона була, і там ситуація, те, що я вам сказав, контрольована після першої хвилі. Ми розуміємо.
Russian President Vladimir Putin, meanwhile, said the offensive was a response to Ukraine shelling border regions of Russia. When asked about whether Russia planned to capture the city of Kharkiv, Putin said there are no such plans for now. But Zelensky said that Russian forces want to attack the city, although they realize it would be very difficult. Next, South Korea reports North firing multiple missiles. Now, North Korea fired multiple suspected short-range ballistic missiles on Friday. According to Seoul's military, the launches came just hours after Kim Jong-un's sister, Kim Yo-jong, denied widespread allegations that Pyongyang is shipping weapons to Russia. The military officials said it had detected the launch of several flying objects, presumed to be short-range ballistic missiles, from North Korea's eastern Wonsan area into waters off its coast. The launches are the latest in a string of ever more sophisticated tests by North Korea, which has fired off cruise missiles, tactical rockets, and hypersonic weapons. Now, Seoul and Washington have accused North Korea of sending arms to Russia, which would violate rafts of UN sanctions on both countries, with experts saying the recent spate of testing might be the weapons destined for use on battlefields in Ukraine. Now, the tests also came a day after South Korean and US stealth fighters, including Washington's F-22 Raptors, staged joint air combat drills. And such exercises typically infuriate Pyongyang, which views them as rehearsals for invasion. The fighting in Taiwan's parliament extended deep into the night on Friday after proposed reforms to the chamber ignited scuffles between lawmakers only days before President-elect Lai Ching-te's inauguration on the 20th of May. Lawmakers could be seen snatching documents from and climbing over each other as the parliament chamber was engulfed in chaos. Democratic Progressive Party or DPP lawmaker Puma Shen had to be rushed to hospital after his attempt to enter the chamber ended in a head injury. As there is currently no majority held by any party in parliament, the opposition wants to give the chamber greater scrutiny powers over the government, including a controversial proposal to criminalize officials who are deemed to make false statements in Parliament. Now, the DPP says the opposition parties KMT and TPP are improperly trying to force through the proposals without the customary consultation process in what they called an unconstitutional abuse of power. Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico underwent a 2-hour operation yesterday that has increased hopes for his recovery following an assassination attempt this week that sent shockwaves through Europe. Director of the hospital treating Fico, Miriam Lapunikova, said he was conscious and stable in the intensive care unit after the operation, which removed dead tissue from his wounds. Now, Fico also underwent hours of surgery on Wednesday soon after being shot 5 times at close range as he spoke to members of the public in the central town of Handlova. Deputy Prime Minister Robert Kalinak said Fico's condition is still very serious and it would take a couple of days to see the course of the development of his state. Slovak police have charged a man with attempted murder for the case. Local news media said he is a 71-year-old former security guard at a shopping mall and the author of 3 collections of poetry. The shooting was the first major assassination attempt on a European political leader for more than 20 years and has drawn international condemnation. Political analysts and lawmakers say it has exposed an increasingly febrile and polarized political climate both in Slovakia and across Europe. Now, Europe's top rights organization adopted the first ever legally binding international treaty governing the use of artificial intelligence, or AI. The treaty, which is also open to non-European countries, sets out a legal framework that covers the entire life cycle of AI systems and addresses the risks they may pose while promoting responsible innovation. The text was adopted at the annual ministerial meeting of the Council of Europe's Committee of Ministers, which brings together the foreign ministers of the 46 member states. The Council of Europe said the Framework Convention on Artificial Intelligence is a first of its kind global treaty that will ensure that AI upholds people's rights. Now, with this new treaty, the Council aims to ensure a responsible use of AI that respects human rights, the rule of law, and democracy. Among other provisions, the treaty requires parties to ensure that the AI systems are not used to undermine democratic institutions and processes. Transparency and oversight requirements would include identifying content generated by AI systems to users. Now, the Framework Convention will be open for signature in Vilnius, the capital of Lithuania, at a conference of justice ministers in September. Next up in sports, Arteta banking on help from West Ham to beat City in title race. Arsenal boss Mikel Arteta said on Friday he hopes his former manager David Moyes can give them a helping hand in the Premier League title race when West Ham United travel to leaders Manchester City on the final day of the season. Now, Arsenal, who face Everton at home, are 2 points behind City heading into Sunday's final round of fixtures. While Arsenal must win to have a chance, City can secure a fourth title in as many seasons if they beat West Ham.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest weeks for sure for many of us, and certainly now is the most important moment. Really excited, can't wait for Sunday to be in front of us, and obviously very optimistic as well with the possible outcome.
Arsenal fell short by 5 points last season when their title challenge collapsed in May. But this time, they have been with City every step of the way in the closest title race in Premier League history. Now, Arsenal's last league title came in 2003 to 2004 season when Arsene Wenger's side went the entire season unbeaten. A Premier League trophy will also be at the Emirates in case Arsenal manage to win the title. Now, on the other hand, Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola said he expects another nail-biting finale to the Premier League season, similar to the 2021-2022 campaign where his club nearly lost the title on the final day before late goals secured the trophy. City pipped Liverpool to the title by 1 point in May 2022, but Guardiola's side made things difficult for themselves when they went 2-0 down to Aston Villa at home before they eventually won 3-2 to deny the Merseyside club the crown. Now, Arsenal ran out of steam last season to finish in second place, but Guardiola does not expect the North London side, managed by his former assistant Mikel Arteta, to slip up when they face Everton at home.
The destiny is in our hands. If you are waiting that they are going to drop to be champion, you are wrong. If you are thinking Arsenal is going to lose or drop points in Old Trafford, forget about it. Forget about it. If you are thinking that Everton tomorrow is going to do something, forget about it. So the chance they give us, expected maybe earlier, they give us. Now is our point.
I was still on football. Feyenoord coach Arne Slot confirmed on Friday that he would take the Liverpool job next season after Jurgen Klopp leaves the Premier League club at the end of the campaign. Now, Feyenoord confirmed Slot's departure, posting a video on X saying the Arne Slot era is coming to an end. Liverpool have not yet confirmed Klopp's replacement, with the German manager leaving after the club's final game of the season against Wolverhampton Wanderers on Sunday. Now, Slot has been in charge of the Dutch club since 2021 and won the Eredivisie League title in 2022-2023 along with the KNVB Cup this season. Feyenoord also reached the Europa Conference League final in his first season at the club. Now, Klopp announced in January that he would leave Liverpool at the end of this season. Although Bayer Leverkusen boss Xavi Alonso and Sporting Lisbon coach Ruben Amorim were previously linked with the job, the 45-year-old Slot is set to take charge. Now, Slot had signed a contract extension with Feyenoord at the end of last season until 2026, with media reports saying Liverpool needed to pay the Dutch club an undisclosed sum for his signature. Now, over in France, Olympique de Marseille manager Jean-Louis Gasset will take charge of his last game on Sunday before retiring from management. The 70-year-old said on Friday that he intends to retire after the final match of the Ligue R season, ending a managerial career spanning 4 decades. Gasset was appointed as interim manager by the Ligue A club in February after the sacking of Gennaro Gattuso, and Marseille are 8th in the standings going into their final Ligue A game of the season at Le Havre. Now, the Frenchman's previous job was with Ivory Coast, from which he was sacked after the team's poor performances in the Africa Cup of Nations group stage. They scraped through as the last lucky losers before going on to win the tournament on home soil. Now, Marseille reached the Europa League semi-finals, but due to their 8th placing in Ligue A, they no longer have European qualifications in their own hands. The members of the Brazilian Football Confederation welcomed the appointment of Brazil as host country of the 2027 Women's World Cup on Friday. Brazil was designated host as host after winning a vote at the annual FIFA Congress, beating the joint bid of Belgium, Netherlands and Germany to become the first South American country picked to stage the tournament. Brazil won with 119 votes versus 78 for the joint European entry, boosted by a technical evaluation from world governing body FIFA that gave a high score for its commercial plan and stadiums purpose-built for the 2014 Men's World Cup. Now, the vote on the Women's World Cup had been whittled down to 2 candidates after the United States and Mexico withdrew to pursue the 2031 tournament instead. Now, Brazil has scored 4 out of 5 compared to 3.7 for Belgium, Netherlands, Germany in the FIFA evaluation, which had highlighted the Europeans beat compactness, solid commercial viability and short distances between venues, but noted smaller capacities of its 13 stadiums. Now, the BIS operational manager, Valesca Araujo, said the aim was to boost women's football in South America, which was underdeveloped but has huge potential. Let's check out cycling. Jonathan Milan of LIDL Track maintained his excellent form at the Giro d'Italia to win stage 13 on Friday, marking the Italian's 3rd stage victory. His team worked perfectly, leading him out into the last kilometre, and Milan was well placed in second as they rounded the final bend. But it looked like Fernando Gaviria would steal the win as he took to the front. Milan, however, showed just why he is the points classification leader as he pounced to take another stage victory, with Poland's Stanislaw Aniolkowski from Cofidis finishing strongly in second, and Bahrain Victorious's Phil Bauhaus third. Now, the 179-kilometre ride from Riccione to Cento was the flattest stage of the Giro. An early break by 3 Italian riders, Andrea Pietrobon, Manuel Tarozzi and Alessandro Tonelli, managed to gain a 3-minute advantage before the peloton upped the pace to reel them in with over 50 kilometres still to race. Now, the peloton then dropped a large group of riders, including Milan, and the Italian had to use up plenty of energy playing catch-up, but he still had the legs at the finish for another win after previously taking stages 4 and 11. Tadej Pogačar maintained his firm grip on the leader's jersey and is still 2 minutes and 40 seconds ahead of Daniel Philippe Martinez, with Geraint Thomas 16 seconds further behind in third. In golfing news, Scottie Scheffler was arrested and charged with felony assault after an incident with Metro Police trying to get into Valhalla Golf Club after 6 a.m. local time. It all started with a fatal accident on Shelbyville Road, the 4-lane road at the entrance of Valhalla. Now, according to an ESPN reporter who witnessed the incident, Scheffler drove past a police officer a little after 6 a.m. in his PGA Championship vehicle. An officer screamed at him to stop and then grabbed onto the car while Scheffler continued to drive. Now, as a result, the police officer was dragged to the ground, suffered pain and swelling, and abrasions in his left wrist and knee. Louisville police say Scheffler was booked on 4 charges, including second-degree assault of a police officer. Now, he is also charged with third-degree criminal mischief, reckless driving, and disregarding signals from officers directing traffic. He was released from jail at 8:40 a.m. and teed off in the second round of the PGA Championship at 10:08 a.m.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's just a huge misunderstanding this morning that'll get resolved, I think, fairly quickly. And yeah, I mean, I came here for a golf tournament. I was driving in this morning trying to get to my warm-up time and get ready for the round of golf. You know, I didn't really have an understanding of what had transpired this morning. And, you know, my main focus after, you know, getting arrested was, you know, wondering if I could be able to come back out here and play. And, you know, fortunately I was able to do that. And, yeah, it was nice to put together a solid round today for sure.
And then the reigning Masters champion played like nothing happened, carding a 5-under par 66. He's at 9 under for the first 2 days of the PGA and trailed midday leader Colin Morikawa by 2 strokes. Skydivers fly through London Tower Bridge and predatory animals living amongst Libyan family. Austrian skydivers Marco First and Marco Voltenspiel recently became the first people to successfully navigate a wingsuit flight through London's iconic Tower Bridge. The duo leapt from a helicopter at 3,000 feet and flew across the River Thames before navigating their flight through the bridge towers.
Well, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really good. It was quite intense, I would say, but yeah, we were well prepared and I'm pretty happy now.
The stunt came after extensive training in Oxfordshire, United Kingdom, which involved the use of cranes to simulate the Tower Bridge dimensions. The 2 skydivers reached a top speed of 246 kilometers per hour during the jump. From sharing food and nap times to family gatherings, Libyan Abdel Fattah al-Saadi has been raising a predatory animal as his pet inside his home in Libya's Tripoli. Now, after buying his first pet lion at the age of 16, Abdel Fattah has shown interest in raising predatory animals as a hobby, where he's now seen raising a 1.5-year-old cub in his garden. He explained that raising the carnivores is a dangerous hobby, but he believes that lions are compassionate towards humans and that it all comes to how they are handled while growing up.
الصعوبات هي مش حتكون في العمر الصغير نتاع ال5 شهور وال6 شهور، حتكون سنة ونص وطالع على الصعوبات نتاع الحيوان المفترس. أنا خلت علاقتي كبيرة أنا وياه، لما نجي هنا يرحب بي ترحيب كبير وعلاقة كبيرة بيني وياه، بحب أنا وموقع.
And that's it for this edition of World Today. In our top story, Malaysia-Uzbekistan to activate Intergovernmental Joint Committee. I'm Jessica Lee. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you for watching RTM, teman setia Anda.